So we discussed this a couple of times last week, and now we get a psychological perspective on the recent child-related crimes. Arnella Myers is no stranger to our set, and she joins us now with her views. Good morning, Arnella.
Good morning.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that people ask themselves whenever these things happen is, what's going through the mind of a child when they commit crimes that are so violent? What place are they at to do that?
So one of the things we need to understand is that crime in adolescence is a really serious matter. And the truth of the matter is there are a number of things that generally contributes to this. And you can't say for sure what's going on in a child's mind, particularly in adolescence, which is generally a period of growth, which is has a number of things going on for a child. So they're dealing with transitioning from childhood to adulthood, and there can be some stressful things that are going on, and add to that stresses within their family. The psychology of a child criminal is very complex, and one of the biggest contributing factors, science tells us, is environmental factors. So that's really what it is.
A child criminal. Boy, that phrase is a paradox to me in so many ways. The psychology of a child criminal, you say, is very?
It's very complex. So there's a lot of things that are going on.
Does he or she understand what it is that he or she has done when that crime is committed?
As far as any 11 or 12-year-old can understand what is going on. So depending on their background, they may have some knowledge of right or wrong. And the truth is, at that stage, they'd have developed that understanding. However, one of the things that we sometimes forget when we think about this is that they aren't adults, and so it's a little bit difficult for them to understand all the repercussions, particularly if they're not taught about consequences as it relates to their own behavior, which we find in a lot of crime-ridden societies, which is a very, very big problem. So they don't understand fully consequences to behavior, and so they believe that solving their problems in a violent manner is something that's acceptable because that is what they know.
So socialization is really
a huge part. The truth of the matter is that none of us are born as murderers or criminals, really, and these are things that we learn. Conditioning, learning, modeling, this is what they see in their society. They don't have a great understanding of what are alternate ways for you to express your anger or for you to solve your problems, and so they simply repeat most of the times what they have seen. It's just rather unfortunate that the consequences, because their understanding of maybe the limits of my own strength isn't quite as developed as an adult's per se, but they generally are repeating what they have seen. And so to penalize them simply for carrying out actions that they see on a daily basis is important, we understand, but also a little difficult when you want to do things such as limit or lower the age for children who are part of the penal system or who get punished severely by the penal system.
Sometimes I watch cartoons, and the cartoon gets hit over the head so hard he goes right into the ground, but he bounces
right back,
and he's okay. And a lot of these cartoons are violent by nature. Is there some point where children watch these things and believe that it's okay because nobody's really going to get hurt?
Absolutely. One of the things that we tend to do is we minimize the impact of media, and the truth of the matter is that's where a lot of us get our socialization because of busy parents. So you, as a child, you don't know better, and so you're kind of just like, well, if I hit Tom, I'm just going to see some stars around his eyes and he'll know I'm not about that life. But the truth of the matter is they see these things and it becomes a part of their psyche, and so they not only think that it's okay, but they also become desensitized to violence. And this is one of the problems with media and not monitoring the things that we allow our children to see. We allow them to play violent video games, we allow them to watch movies unattended or unsupervised. And these are things that they take in, and we seem to forget and think that, oh, they should know better. The same way, when most of us are growing up, you were told that it's not okay to do certain things. It's the same way that every child needs that kind of guidance and monitoring. And one of the problems is we tell a person or we tell a child, no, don't hit, but we don't give them an alternative to hitting. So they don't know appropriate.
And then we hit them.
Precisely.
Right.
So, we're trying to solve the problem of violence with violence,
Yeah, do as
which
I
doesn't
say,
work
but not
at
as I do.
all.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Where do they make the distinction between, I shouldn't be doing this? Because you spoke about an 11 or 12-year-old. When you get further down into adolescence, when you hit 16 and 17, surely you have an idea of what you're doing, no?
Not necessarily, because you can only do what you're taught and what you know. So if I grew up in an environment where the only thing I've ever seen is if somebody upsets me, if somebody annoys me, I hit them. If I like somebody, I hit them. We tell our children that, oh, no, he's only mean because he likes you. That is exactly what they're going to perpetrate. So they've been exposed to violence. And one of the things that, unfortunately, I'm going to use the term again, criminal children, is usually they are themselves victims of abuse or are from violent homes or communities, and so they're exposed to a lot of violence. And so you'd think at 13 older, say 16, 17, they know better. But if they have no exposure of otherwise, it's going to be the same thing. And so an 11-year-old who is violent now is likely to still be violent at 18, 19, if there is no appropriate intervention to help them to express their aggression and deal with their anger appropriately. Because anger is a healthy emotion. However, it is all about how we deal with it.
I've seen documentaries and movies where there are children that they've said, no, this child is a sociopath, or this child displays the type of behavior which tells me that in the future he may head even further into violence. How do you cope with children like that?
So, as I mentioned before, there are a number of things that may contribute to how comes a child is the way they are. And with the exception of serious psychological problems, which may be as a result of genetic challenges or brain injury, these things, your personality is a matter of your environment. And so how do we best cope with it? Well, we show them that there's a different way. So of course, we need to, have sanctions for behaviors. But if you put a child in a rehabilitative system that actually has no rehabilitation going on, then they're in there with other children who know better, and so they're going to keep doing the same thing. And so one of the things that you need to first do is help them to recognize that, one, there are alternate ways to deal with a situation. And so something as simple as conflict resolution. When I was in school, we had pals. I'm not quite sure what's there now, but simple things. And it can't simply be take a child out of the environment and deal with them in isolation. One of the things that tends to breed is it tells them that you're not okay and you're not a valuable member of society. And in order for me to help you, I have to isolate you. When the truth of the matter is this needs to be a community effort. Parenting needs to be a part of general curriculum, helping parents to understand what are acceptable ways of dealing with the challenges that you have. Communicating is one of the problems. We tell our children one thing and we kind of just go, because I say so. By the time I'm
reasoning.
Exactly. And so when I get upset, it's kind of just because I'm upset, that's why I behave like this.
Yeah.
They don't know how to express their anger. They don't know. And sometimes it's not even anger. Sometimes I'm sad, and the only way I know how to express it is behaviorally. So that's what all of these challenges and the violence and the aggression that we see, it's them trying to communicate something to us.
At what point should a parent take it seriously, though, Arnella? Because sometimes when the children get to teenagers, then the parent will say, oh, I can't manage him, I can't control him. I mean, we've had debates about children being, locked away because of uncontrollable behavior. At what point should a parent take it seriously?
Immediately. The first sign, we're all just innately, we know how to express anger. It's a biological thing, it's for our survival. But you need to recognize that as early as preschool, if your child is in school and they're biting every other child, there's something not okay with that. Where are they seeing that behavior? How comes they feel like it's okay that that's the way they express their frustration? So as soon as you
or expressing it towards animals.
Or towards animal or even property, because the truth of the matter is sometimes they don't see, they can't hit another person, and so they'll vandalize property. And so the first sign of a child showing lots of anger or lots of aggression, it's important to deal with it now. And the truth of the matter is we forget sometimes that children are just little people. It's as simple as asking them, well, what's going on, trying to find out. Sometimes you might not necessarily have the skill yourself. There's a lot of resources in our environment that is there to help us. You've got your pastors, you've got your doctors, you've got your nurses, you've got mental health professionals like myself, you've got centers that are directed at dealing with children and the challenges that they have, as well as the challenges that parents may have. So the first sign of aggression that you see in a child, it's something that you need to deal with immediately. And when I say immediately, I mean right now, because we have exactly, we have a tendency to kind of go, watch me and you later. Later, they've done 500 other things that they don't know why you're punishing them now.
Well, sometimes them get punishments anyway, so I just go and do me.
And so one of the things that we need to understand is that everybody is different. And so while you can look at me sternly and I'll stop, for other children, it's not quite the same thing. And so parents need to also understand different or alternate means of discipline and what works for you and your child.
Reach out to those who know
Precisely.
is the moral of this story. Thank you very much, Arnella. Appreciate it. Associate Clinical Psychologist Arnella Myers.
We stay in lane after the break. Should the age of criminal responsibility be changed? We'll talk about that. We'll be right back.